go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you. That game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from the Cougs, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. Hey, listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy March 15th. It's a Wednesday. Club going up on a Wednesday. We got the Beckles and Recher podcast a little bit later on. I got practice, got softball, got a little bit of everything. What a crazy day here in the Tampa Bay area. Wednesday is always my pretty busy day as well. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Hope you are all well. Yeah, back in action tomorrow at the arena, at Benchmark International Arena. So, yeah, should be fun there. Big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, and Evra Health. What a show we have for you today. We went live at 3 o'clock yesterday for the announcement that Lavonte David has retired. So we are going to discuss the Lavonte David retirement with Ira Kaufman of Joe Bucs Fan at 12:15 today. Not many people covering the Buccaneers as long as our guy Ira from Joe Bucs Fan. So can't wait to chat with him. And then, of course, Casey Phillips, Buccaneers team reporter, is going to join us at 12:40 to discuss Lavonte David and Mike Evans no longer being with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How wild is that? It's going to be the first time that I have ever covered this team without either one of those guys being there. So we'll talk to Casey a little bit later on. And then at 1 o'clock, Eric Erlendsson joins us, lightninginsider.com, for the latest on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Guys, kill that like button if you can. Every like, every subscribe, everything really helps out. So great show that we have for you guys today. I feel like my hair looks really weird today. I don't know what's going on here. It's like the down in front, everybody. I think we're gonna go. Do I go hat? Switch it up. Put the hat on. UT hat today. UT. We're going yes hat or no hat? Backwards hat? No. Where are we at? Let's see. Red and black. It does match. Looks a little weird. Marissa, you watching? I need your input. Hold on. Let's see what other hats I got here. Rowdy's Bucs. Oh, my Bucs hat. This will be the one. This is the one right here. No hat. Come on, Benny. I'm not going UT hat. I'm going Bucs hat. How about that? Yeah, I'm going Bucs hat today. That's the way we're going. We're going hat. Eyes here. Marissa, hat, black hat, red hat. I think black hat's good today. We're going black hat because we're showing love to the Buccaneers and Manchester United. That's how we roll. Have I worn wigs, Benny? No, I haven't worn wigs. And we'll start talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. Baseball starts tonight. Yankees and Giants on Netflix. So that'll be interesting as well. And then, the tournament restarts again tomorrow. So Sweet 16 action. And don't forget, the winner of the Recher podcast bracket challenge will get an opportunity to talk on the show and also win a free large pizza from our friends over at Alfonso's. We love Alfonso's Pizzeria. So, big thank you to Honest Hammer and Evra Health. Make sure, guys, every little bit helps when it comes to the super chats. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, like our guy Richie P. Whatever you guys can do to help, that's the only way we're going to keep this show on the road. And also like our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders and Evra Health. Okay, last night, how about those Tampa Bay Lightning? Of course, we want to hear from you guys. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom. If you want to join in via the video chat, here is the link right there in the chat. Right at the bottom here, StreamYard.com/IXS4Q25G 7Z. So just click on that link in the chat and join us. David Terry J, that was one hell of a win last night. How the hell can we keep Darren Radish? We can't lose him. PS, keep wearing the pink shoes to games, please. They're good luck. Somebody made a comment last night. Didn't you just wear those a couple of weeks ago? I say it was to a win and wanted to switch it up. Not really switch it up, kind of keep some familiarity. And it's a 7-game homestand, so your boy's got to keep it fresh and funky. I think I'm going to go white, maybe white tomorrow. I haven't worn my white shoes in a while. Look who's back. Steve Garner. We were getting a little worried about our Carolina correspondent. We haven't heard from him in a while. Bolts looked dominant last night. It's going to be a tight race down to the wire for the division. You got that right. Rolly in the house. Oh, wow. Great guest coming up. Yes, we do. Ira Kaufman at 12:15. Casey Phillips at 12:40. Eric Erlendsson at 1 o'clock. DT, David Terry. Mo is leaving Liverpool at the end of the year as well. No surprise there. Mo Salah finally leaving Liverpool. I mean, it's only a matter of time before he was going to play in for one of the Saudi teams, and he's going to get a boatload of money. Always wear Jordans with my suits. I can't do that, buddy. I cannot do that. I will never, ever, ever wear any type of basketball shoes with my suits. I'm a dress shoe guy to a T, and the only way I'll ever wear some modicum of a sneaker with a suit is if it's silver or blue and it has flashing LED lights on the bottom. But I've been told by the Lightning not to wear those anymore. It is what it is. But the sneaker soiree should be coming up. I actually have a brand new pair of shoes for the sneaker soiree. Some like white on whites with LED lights on the bottom. So cannot wait. I'm anti sneaker with suit, but I get it. I get why people are doing it. Bull J in the house. Is Alabama a stepping stone? Yes. And we saw that with the new coach, Coach Curry, joining the USF women's basketball team. I reached out to the great coach Michelle Woods Baxter yesterday and sent her my love. And I thought she did a great job and earned the right to lead this team. But you're going to go to Alabama. You're going to go Alabama and get somebody that's been there and been through the rigors of a long season. So congratulations to Coach Curry, and we'll put our full support behind her, and we will definitely have her on the show at some point. If I'm going to be uncomfortable with the suit, I'm going to be comfy on my feet. I understand your rationale. I have some comfortable shoes, though. Comfortable shoes, though. I'm pretty comfortable with my outfits. So now we have voters saying that they won't vote for Cooch because he had 2 weeks off and the others didn't. It's laughable. I saw that same video. Our good friend D'Angelo from the Hockey News put that out there. You know, not saying I don't believe her because I saw the video. It wasn't her that said it, but I think sometimes people say that to just get a rise out of people. Not the person that reported that on the show, but like the people that were talking to him. That's just asinine. It really is. I mean, Nikita Kucherov has been just on an absolute tear. When you start comparing him to guys like like Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux, like how is he not? How is he not a guy that is the MVP of the league? Macklin Celebrini deserves love for what he's been able to do, as is Matthew Schaefer, a couple of young kids, and the usual suspects in Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. But this is Cooch's year. This is Cooch's year. He should be winning that job or winning that trophy this year. But an incredible win for the Lightning last night. I'm a big Minnesota Wild guy. I think they're a really good team, solid defensively, really well coached. They have scoring, and they go up 3-1, and the Lightning just battle back. And I'm just so impressed with how this team has been playing. They just keep getting better and better, and they win games in a multitude of ways, and they love that 2 or less, but they gave up 3 last night. But there's just so many different ways that this team can beat you. And I agree with you, Tampa Nike Fitness. Like one of the best wins of the season based on the competition and how it's the first game after a long road trip, and those are never easy. John Cooper has said as much. But when they get called by some iffy penalties, Kelly Sutherland, he's got to be one of, if not the worst referees in the National Hockey League. He's just, I don't know, the unsportsmanlike penalty to Brandon Hagel. Like, I'm sure he's heard a lot worse than that. And then some of those iffy penalties. I didn't like the penalty he gave to Chernak. Listen, it's one thing if you want to call the penalty, but the fact that he had to skate from outside of the zone into the zone and like point at Chernak with such vigorousness and emotion and energy, like, dude, calm down, dude. calm down. Like, it's not about you. Like, he looked like he was offended that the Lightning took a penalty. It's just that guy needs to get a life, and it's a weird thing. Um, so yeah, very impressed with the Tampa Bay Lightning last night. You keep playing like that, you're going to be in good shape as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. But the teams around them, they keep winning too. So it's you just gotta not worry. It's easier said than done, but you kind of just have to not worry about what's going on around you, and you just got to keep playing well. Jake Gensel with his 300th goal last night. Darren Radish with his 20th. I don't see how they bring Darren Radish back, especially with the whole Victor Hedman thing, and he's out again. Will he be back in there on Thursday? We don't know. But it's a big topic of conversation with Hetty. He's not the same guy. And I look back at the Olympics with him sitting out that game. Was it the quarterfinals against Team USA and sitting on the bench the entire time? If he was that hurt that he couldn't play in that game, why did he come back so soon? Why did he come back so soon? Because I don't think he missed any time after the break, and he's clearly compromised. He's clearly not skating as well as we know he can. And you hate to say it, but right now, when he's not in there, the deep pairings look very solid. So partially, you look at Victor Hedman and his play and why it's not done well, but also the effects that it's had on everybody else. When it's just Moser and Radish, you just kind of leave it. McDonough and Chernak, they have a pedigree. They have that familiarity with each other. And then we saw last night, I thought Emil Lilleberg played really well, and he's played really well with Charles-Edouard Dastou. So that there's chemistry there. And unfortunately, when they go 11-7, or when Victor Hedman's been back in the equation, it just hasn't been right. And Hetty wants to be in there. But if he's not 100% and he's taken away from the team, that's a tough think about it. Regardless of whether you think he's playing well or not, I think we can all agree he's not himself. But just put yourself in the shoes of John Cooper and Julien Brisebois and that discussion that they would have to have with their captain. I'm not worried about the future. I'm not worried about the next couple of years because I don't think this is a sign of a precipitous drop off in play. I think he's just not 100%. He hurt his elbow early on in the season. He hurt his groin there in that game, right? Warming up for the game against the U.S. So I don't look at it as I'm worried about Victor Hedman. Now, if he comes back next year and he's really struggling, then yes, we can have that discussion. But right now, if you ask me, is Victor Hedman 100%? I would say no. But what does that mean for this team going forward? It might mean, and again, we don't know this for sure, and I think they'll probably give him an opportunity to kind of right the ship here before the end of the season. But right now, they're better without him right now. Long term, I won't agree with that. Even the rest of the season, I wouldn't agree with that because the playoffs are a completely different animal. And I would rather want Victor Hedman on the ice than off the ice. No doubt about it. Ira Kaufman from Joe Bucs fan will join us here in a minute, discussing the whole Lavonte David situation. Victor Boucher, good afternoon, Jay. There was news about extending Baker Mayfield. Thoughts? I wouldn't extend Baker Mayfield. I would wait until after this season. Again, I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's a good guy. I love his attitude, but it's worrisome that he does not play his best football when he's not 100% and when he's not playing his best football at the end of the season. That's got to be worrisome. It doesn't, again, I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. Just because you say that about Baker Mayfield doesn't mean that you don't want him as the quarterback. Doesn't mean that you're talking shit about him, that you can't win with him. In my opinion, I don't know if they can win a Super Bowl with him if he continues to play like that and he's not able to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He plays like he's 10 feet tall. I get that. But would I be so quick to offer him an extension? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And you just don't know what's going to happen with this team this year. You don't know how good or how bad it's going to be. There's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the Buccaneers in the 2026 season. Right, you're bringing Todd Bowles back, but also no Lavonte David, no Mike Evans, and you're turning over a new leaf when it comes to the leadership. I wouldn't be so quick to just hand the reins over to Baker Mayfield and say I'm going to sign him to an extension and commit to him long term. All right, we're going to talk some Buccaneer football, and we're going to do it with this guy. Look at him. He's looking sharp as a tack, the one and only, the Sage, Ira Kaufman, Joe Bucs fan. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I went outdoors today, Jay Bird. Went outdoors. Coming off cataract surgery last week.
How you feeling? How you seeing the world?
No blurriness, baby. You're coming in nice and clear.
Love it.
And I went to St. Luke's in Tarpon Springs, world famous. They must have had 50 people waiting to roll in after me, and the whole thing was over in 5 minutes. So,
nice.
Jay, if any of your listeners, are thinking, hey, I got a blurry eye here, go take care of it. It's not a big deal, and you'll be glad you did.
Beautiful. When are you guys coming to the Lightning game?
I was thinking of coming this weekend, but Roy said he's out of town because he's in Memphis picking his fantasy baseball league. So he mentioned maybe a playoff game. If you can squeeze me in a playoff game, we'll see what happens.
I got some pull around there. I'll see what I can do for you boys. No doubt about it.
This guy Kucherov, Jay, I mean,
unbelievable.
I'm not sure we realize what the heck we got in our midst, though, over here.
The vision's crazy, Ira. And the thing is, I got a chance to see Wayne Gretzky up close and personal, even at the end of his career with the Rangers. And even though he lost a step, like the vision was unbelievable. And I thought it was hyperbole early on to say that Nikita Kucherov reminded me of Wayne Gretzky, but Ira, it is like I don't see anybody else, and it's years go by. It's 3, it's 4, it's 5, it's almost 10 years now, and nobody's even coming close. And you see 80 assists again, and 4+ points on the road for 5 straight games. The only people that have ever done that are Lemieux and Gretzky. I tell you what, Ira, he might go down as the greatest athlete in the history of Tampa Bay sports if he keeps this up, because he's on his way.
That's the highest praise you can give, Jay. You know that. It is talk about 99 like that. You and I have said this to each other. The greatness of Kucherov, if I had to name one thing, he knows what the hell he's going to do when you pass him the puck. He knows before you even pass it to him who's open. So there's no hesitation with this guy. And that's a rare trait. You just don't see that too often in hockey. You don't.
No doubt about it. And another guy that we lauded him for his football IQ for 14 seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is Lavonte David. And no surprise, Ira. I mean, we know, and you and I have talked about it. He lost a step, and I don't think that's talking shade or being rude. But, man, he gave you everything he had, 215 games, every single one of them starts. I think outside of Leroy Selman, he's probably the best defensive player outside of the, Sapp, Brooks, Lynch, Barber era, and a guy that I think is the model when it comes to the type of man that the Buccaneers want their players to be like. How would you sum up Lavonte David's career there with the Buccaneers?
Well, Jay, I got a simple way of doing it. Last year, you and I filled out a ballot for the top $100 of all time, $50 of all time. Mm-hmm. I had Evans at 5 behind 4 Hall of Famers, and I had David at 6 ahead of John Lynch. So, and he doesn't have his gold jacket yet, and we'll talk about that, Jay. But the consistent excellence, I mean, that is kind of a defining moment for a Hall of Famer. Consistent excellence. He did drop off, Jay. Look, he wasn't the same as when he was 27. He wasn't that sideline to sideline guy. But for so many years, Jay, on a lot of bad teams, his play never dipped. That 12-year playoff drought, he was right in the middle of it. And you know what's funny, Jay? Here's what I remember. I don't know if you remember this game, but it was against the Jets in New York, so I think you do remember it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
First game of his second season, 2013. Mm-hmm. And by the way, he went on to have an incredible 2013 season. That was the only time he ever made the first team All-Pro team. He had like a Rondé, across the board statistical season that year. Mm-hmm. But Jay, in the very first game, the season opener, the Bucs had that game won. Josh Freeman was the quarterback, and he got a go-ahead touchdown late in the game, and Geno Smith was the Jets quarterback, and they were at midfield. They were going to have to try a 70-yard field goal. It wasn't going to happen. And the Bucs had the game wrapped up, and Geno Smith, he ran right on a scramble, and Lavonte hit him when he was out of bounds and got the flag. And you felt bad for such a young player.
Right.
You didn't know he was going to go on and have a 14-year career.
Mm-hmm.
He was the go to that game. They lost. I think Nick Folk, they kicked the winning field goal from like 45 yards instead of 60 or 70. And, it kind of drove him, Jay. It kind of drove him to be the great player he ended up being. So, Jay, in the span of a couple of weeks, they lose Mike Evans and Lavonte David. But, Jay, for Buck fans out there, it happens. It happens all over this league. You got to say goodbye to some players on the backside of their careers. Unlike Mike Evans' departure, Jay, I don't think Lavonte David's retirement had anything to do with coaching staff, how he looked at the Bucs Super Bowl chances. I think this was a personal decision, Jay, and I'm very happy for him going forward. I only regret that I had a follow-up cataract appointment on Tuesday, so I couldn't go to because I would have asked him a few Hall of Fame questions about it, Jay.
So, with saying that, do you think for Mike Evans, what do you think happened with Mike Evans? Is it on Bowles? Is it on Light? Is it on just the entire situation? How much stock do you put into 3rd and 28? Because Mike Evans, I mean, going to California, picking up and uprooting your family and going to play for $14 million a year when you know how much they take out of your taxes. Like, what's your thoughts on Mike Evans leaving? Because it's obviously two different scenarios between him and Lavonte.
Jay, I talked to a former Buck yesterday, a guy who's very sharp about all things Buccaneers. I gave him my opinion on Mike Evans, and I said, I think he wants another ring, and he thinks San Francisco gives him a better chance. And he didn't agree with that. He just thought, I've done this thing for 12 years, and I just want to try something different. And that it didn't have that much to do with the Buck roster as compared to the Niners roster or Shanahan compared to Todd Bowles. I still think, Jay, that was part of it. You look at the Niners, Jay, it's hard to believe they had more injuries than the Bucs did. And the Bucs were riddled. No question about it. And I had been saying for years, the Bucs, man, they've been so lucky. Their offensive line intact. And then we saw what happened. Having said that, the quarterback still played 17 games. Maybe he shouldn't have, but he did. A lot of teams don't have that. So the Bucs have been really lucky under center for years and years and years with it in terms of injuries. But Lavonte's going out of Buck. He deserves to go out of Buck, and I hope they put him right next to Evans in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So obviously you and I talk a lot about Hall of Fames, and we know what you did to how many stones that you had to turn over to try to get Rondé Barber in, and eventually you were able to get him in. I see people saying now that Lavonte David's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a very uphill climb to get him in, because it's awfully hard to use those numbers and make those arguments, because he just doesn't have the All Pros. He doesn't have the Pro Bowls, and we know how important that is. You're a guy that's in that room. I mean, how realistic is it that Lavonte David's going to be, whether it's a first ballot Hall of Famer or just a Hall of Famer at all?
Jay, Buck fans aren't any different than anybody else, from Seattle to Miami. They think their guys walk on water and a little bit inflated. I've heard the word slam dunk, the phrase slam dunk. Jay, you want to watch a slam dunk? Go watch Wembanyama play. Jay, this is not a slam dunk. Now, look, does he have a compelling case? Yes. His stats are very, very strong in terms of tackles. For me, more importantly, tackles for loss.
So when you say not a slam dunk, is it not a slam dunk for first ballot or Hall of Famer as in total?
Certainly first ballot. First ballot. I mean, Jay, Luke Kuechly didn't make it first time around. Now, right. I believe you were standing next to me. Mm-hmm. It might have been the last game when Carolina came in.
I actually mentioned this on the show yesterday.
Yeah, and so you saw me have a long discussion. And Kuechly, I was asking him about his own Hall of Fame credentials because he wasn't in at that point. He would be a month later. But all he wanted to talk about was number 54 and how criminally underrated he is because he's been lumped in with outside pass rushers. And that's true. to an extent. If I'm looking at Terrell Suggs or somebody, I see 130 sacks. And I see Lavonte with 30, which is a good total for an off-ball linebacker. In terms of his overall chances, Jay, and you mentioned the word hardware. I just wrote a column about hardware, and I put up a chart about guys like Ray Lewis, Brooks, Junior Seau. What I mean is first-team All-Pros. These guys all had like 5, 6, 7. Lavonte's got one. All decade. All of these guys, I mentioned 7 guys that played, in the 2000s that have gotten in. They're all decade players. Even Urlacher, Zach Thomas, all decade. Lavonte, no. Defensive Player of the Year, like 5 out of these 7 had it. Ray Lewis had it twice. Lavonte, no. Now you got to remember, Jay, the guy from Nashville didn't see Lavonte David play like you and I did. He didn't. So he's going to say, well, where's the All-Pros? Now, I think he's got 2 second-team All-Pros.
2 seconds. One first and 2 seconds. Yeah.
That's right. Which is pretty damn good. But it's not Kuechly, who had 5 first-team. Jay, in the same span that David was playing. It's not like Kuechly played 20 years before Lavonte David. So in the minds of these voters, Jay, and a lot of these voters in the Hall of Fame, they're the same guys that vote, like me, for the All-Pro teams. The same guy. And so they're not going to hold Lavonte David in the same regard as Kuechly. Maybe you and I could make that case that he should be. But when they went head-to-head, they voted for Kuechly. And I got no problem with that. It's not a knock on Lavonte David that Kuechly, stands like slightly maybe above him. David's got a shot, but it might take time. John Lynch, 8 years. Jay, I know what it's like. Now, he didn't have stats, and Lavonte does, but I'll say this. If all you wouldn't want to go by is stats, you might as well have a computer spit out the 5 guys that are going to make it. So it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. All right, Ira, before I let you go, and I appreciate you. I know you're recuperating. I want to ask you about Baker Mayfield, because we just had a question about, there's been talk about Baker Mayfield and an extension. I have concerns. That this is a guy that when he's not 100%, he doesn't play his best ball. I have concerns that he's not playing his best ball at the end of the year. I don't care what his MVP status was in the beginning of last season, because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And this is a team in transition, and we don't really know what 2027 is going to look like. You could have a new head coach, you could have a new coordinator, you could have a new everything. So I don't know if I'm rushing to the bank to sign Baker Mayfield to a long-term extension. What is your thoughts on his play, and your thoughts on kind of the things that I said about how he's played when he's not 100%, and whether or not the Bucs should sign him to an extension?
Your points are well taken, Jay. And this is why 2026 is such a critical year, Jay, because they're hovering right now in mediocrity. They're on the outskirts of being a contender. On the outskirts, maybe the 18th best team in the league, whatever it is, 14th best. But they're not in the top 5. And even, Buck fans wouldn't say that. Even the Bulls haters, I don't think, would say that. So, Jay, if the team has a good year, that probably means Mayfield has a good year. And then, I'm putting him in the upper strata. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to sign the contract. He might want to go to the Rams, Jay. He might. So that's the danger of not giving him an extension now.
Right.
One of our guys, Steve Isbitz on Joe Bucks fan, he said, well, I'd give him a 1-year extension right now. Well, I don't think Mayfield would sign that, Jay.
Yeah,
I think he'd bet on himself. So here's, and again, why is this critical? Jay, I don't think this could happen, but it could. Suppose they go 5-12. Suppose. Well, first of all, I'm never going to give up that 2027 first-round pick. Never. Because it's a quarterback-rich draft, and if they go 5-12, Mayfield either got hurt or he was lousy. And I'm going to move on from Baker Mayfield at that point. I don't want to, but 5-12 is 5-12. So at that's why I'm not giving him an extension. I want to do what you say. to wait and see which direction this whole franchise is going, because I think the Glazers would. They'd blow it up if it's a bad year, and I wouldn't blame them, Jay. I wouldn't blame them. And one of the guys that would get caught in the whirlwind would be a guy like Vita Vea. Move on, get younger, stock up on draft picks, and that's the right move, Jake. That would be the right move, and even if it means moving on from Mayfield, Jay. Once a century, you got to draft a franchise quarterback, and they've never done it unless you want to consider Doug Williams. With a contract dispute, nobody knows what would have happened with Doug Williams, but damn it, Jay, every other team does it, and the Bucs don't do it. They don't draft a franchise quarterback. And what does that do? It gives you 4 years of a lot of salary flexibility, and they don't do it. They don't do it.
I'm with you, buddy. The one and only Ira Kaufman, JoeBucksFan.com. Yankees Giants tonight. How excited are you, huh, buddy?
You know what? I like this Tony Vitello. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm not down on him, Jay. Because I think he's going to be more aggressive than they had Bob Melvin, who's a decent manager. But, when their offense went south after the All-Star game, they weren't scoring any runs, and they didn't know how to manufacture any runs. That's a deadly combination. They don't hit, they didn't hit and run. They don't steal any bases. And this ain't the Dodgers. You don't wait for a 3-run homer with these guys. So I'm a little optimistic, Jay. Beautiful ballpark. Let's get the Giants back in the national conversation. and I'm sick and tired of looking up at the Dodgers, Jay. Sick and tired.
You and everybody else in the league, my friend. The one and only Ira Kaufman, Joe Bucks fan, JoeBucksFan.com. Go check him out. Stephen and Lee and everybody over there always crushing it. You're the best, my friend. Get well soon.
I'll see you at the arena, Jay. I'll see you at the arena, baby.
Text me when you guys go. I definitely I'll take care of you.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Bye. Ira Kaufman, man. He's been covering the Buccaneers for a long time. And it's just a new era of Tampa Bay sports, man. It's kind of crazy. And, with the Lightning first game last night and a 7-game homestand, and one of the topics of conversation in the press box last night was Sunday. Does anybody know what Sunday is? Sunday, the Tampa Bay Lightning host the Nashville Predators. So it'll be the second time that Steven Stamkos returns to now Benchmark International Arena, but as a visitor. So last year, obviously, there was the hoopla, and it was his first time back as the captain at then Amalie Arena. And it was a surreal moment to be able to talk to Stamkos before the game, and it was just a whirlwind of emotion. I remember NHL Network was there. It was a nationally broadcast. It was a crazy day. We were there broadcasting that day, and just to be able to talk to him, and he just had a smile on his face the entire day because the outpouring of love and emotion for Stammer. I mean, you're just so grateful for what he was able to do, not just for our hockey team, but also for our community. And, those same kind of sentiments will be had for guys like Mike Evans and Lavonte David, and regardless of where they're at and what's the next chapter of their life and their career, you're not going to look back on their career and be unhappy. Like Mike Evans and Lavonte David, what they were able to do with the Buccaneers, the way they were able to persevere through some of the tough times, and to stay with it and not leave, and to win that Super Bowl. And I was one of the very fortunate few to be able to be in the stadium for that. And remember, it was COVID, and there was like nobody else in my row but Mark Cook, God rest his soul, all the way down on the other end. And there was like these placards, like these little cardboard cutouts of people. And it was wild. Like it really was. But to be able to see, even in an environment like that, to see Mike Evans, the joy on his face, to see Lavonte David in the embrace with Tom Brady. That embrace with Tom Brady is something that is like, it sticks out in my brain as one of the more memorable things for Tampa Bay sports, because Tom got it. Like Tom understood, like coming here, like what Lavonte went through, what Mike went through. But, obviously it's one thing on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, I said this on the show yesterday, don't think it was lost on Tom Brady that he had a leader and a quarterback on the other side of the field with Lavonte David. Like, I don't know if that's the ultimate decision or, the ultimate reason why he came here, but like that sure as hell didn't hurt. to have a guy like Lavonte that you can just trust, and he's going to do his thing. He's going to be the consummate professional. And then you look at the years after. We were just talking about Ira and talking about the need, talking about drafting a franchise quarterback. We still felt the after effects of Tom Brady years after, even when Baker Mayfield took over. And a big reason why is because the guys that were the leaders on that team when Tom was here, that were still with the Bucs, they carried that over. Like, why don't you think people were jumping ship when there were struggles in the middle of the season and you didn't hear any murmurs from the team of like, oh, got to get rid of Todd Bowles or questioning the coaching? We didn't hear that. Why? Well, it's because Lavonte on one side and Mike on the other, and of course Tristan and Antoine and a lot of those other guys. Like, there's a lot to be said about how successful people and how just like good dudes, like how those vibes permeate through the team. And yeah, it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird to not have them this year, but man, grateful as hell to be able to share those moments with them. All right, let's bring her in. She is the Buccaneers team reporter, and I was so very lucky and fortunate to be able to see her this weekend, to meet her husband for the first time, the great Casey Phillips, Buccaneers team reporter. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. And now you've officially met the better half. So,
No way. And it was so funny. It was like a Seinfeld episode, like trying to like shake his hand. He's like, I just washed my hand. And I'm like, dude, I've been waiting so long to meet you. I love your work so much. I didn't even care. It was so
I love
funny,
it.
but
That's great.
it was great. You guys have a good time?
Oh yeah, the Valspar is a blast, man. We really enjoyed it. We got to
So
sit. We're friends with people in Habitat for Humanity, and they had an awesome suite on the 18th green and invited us. We said, "Yep, that sounds great. Food and drink in the 18th green sounds lovely." So we had a blast.
Yeah, we did that on Sunday. We just we go sit down, me and my mom and dad, and then Friday we were with USF Golf, so we were up in that same suite, and it's just like, oh, this is the way to live right
That's
here.
the way to do it. Yeah, we
It
did
was-
walk
it
around
was
for a little
amazing.
bit. We're definitely fans of that Full Swing show on Netflix. So
Yes.
now we've got faves because of that. That like we had people we kind of were fans of in golf, but now because of that. So we chose some groups to follow.
Who were they?
because
Who were they?
Our absolute favorite is Tom Kim. We love him so
Mm.
much. He's so fun. He's got such a great like personality and approach, and we just love that he brings out like fun in some of these
Yes.
older golfers that don't normally, like if you've ever watched Tiger Woods, the indoor league he has, like Tom Kim brings out a side of Tiger that's just like so different and fun. So yeah, we love him.
I love that. Yeah, Joel Damon was the guy that really stood out and,
Yep.
showed some personality. And it's weird because I know him and his caddy went separate ways, but it's good. Like things like that really do shine a light on, the golf, right? And at times it's very like close to the vest and you don't know too much about these guys, and I think about all the documentaries that have come out recently, and obviously the Raise the Flags one. And I didn't grow up in Tampa, but I moved here 20 years ago now. Oh my gosh. But just to see like all the different things, like when you watch that documentary, it was great, right? To be able to see like all the different things. And there were certain things that I didn't know about Bo Jackson, Steve Young, and then going back to the Leroy Selman days. And then when it gets more modern and to see the new era, like it was really cool. And I thought it was so well done to be able to see our Tampa Bay Buccaneers like highlighted. You didn't even have to be a football fan to enjoy that documentary.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really special about documentaries. I mean, because either if you're a diehard, there's still things you're going to learn. And I think that's what's really cool. I mean, for me, the Bucs are my life for the last 11 years, still tons of things that I learned watching it. But then if you're not a diehard, there's such a good sort of entrance way to knowing and caring about a team. I got really into the Wrexham documentary. Yes. I don't care a thing about soccer. I don't know it. Nothing. Couldn't have named you like more than 2 soccer players ever. Right. But because of how well it was done, and it's typically what I think about why I do what I do even is when you tell the story of the human behind the play, I think it's such a different level of fandom. So either if you're already a diehard, it takes it to that next level, or if you're someone who's like, I'm not really that into sports, suddenly you see this heartfelt story about somebody and you have a reason to care. So I think that documentaries and all these long form things that are able to do now thanks to social media and YouTube, I think it really is such a great entrance way for fans into greater fandom.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you 100%. And I know I mentioned this last time we spoke. One of my favorite things was the stuff they used to do with Allie and Donovan. Like, and I think that's the thing that people really enjoy. Like they enjoy the personalization of it. Like it's one thing to listen, if you want to go get the X's and O's, like there's going to be places where you can find that. But there's just something about like, how can we humanize these guys that get paid millions of dollars to play a game, right? And to be able to, what do we remember about Ali? Like playing the ukulele. It's like, well, right? Like those are the things that stick out. Of course, it's winning a Super Bowl, retiring early, but it's like we remember Ali playing the ukulele, right? Like that's those little things. Like when you humanize and you personalize these people, I think it's so great. And to kind of segue into the guy that announced his retirement, to Lavonte was such a good man. Like I thought it was one of the greatest things he said yesterday was like, I'm telling my daughter to be kind, be generous, be loving, be caring to everybody that you come across. And, you and I have been covering, this team for at least the last 10 years, for more than 10 years. And he was just like that. He was just a good dude. And to be around a guy like that, he's not the loudest guy in the world, right? But he was very soft spoken, but just an absolute gentleman and a pillar of our community. He'll surely be missed.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what's so cool is it's one thing to be sad of the impact on the field, but it's another to really be sad to lose the human as well. And Lavonte was absolutely both. He was the heart and soul of the defense and the team for both reasons, that he was an incredible person and an incredible player. I'm not sure which one he was better at, that he was incredible at both of them. And so, yeah, I mean, so incredibly happy for him. Also, all of us in the building are devastated to not have him around. And I think, isn't that what every one of us wants, is that whenever we leave somewhere, that people are devastated to see us go because of the way that we've carried ourselves, the way that we've cared for other people. I think that's what I imagine Lavonte would, want his legacy to be. And I know that because I asked him about his legacy and what he wants it to be. And he didn't say anything about the X's and O's or stats at all. It was about how people would remember the way he treated them. And I think that's really lovely.
Yeah. And when the Buccaneers, I am that man and you are. I said this on the show yesterday. I said, that kind of stuff doesn't happen when players are still on the team. That kind of stuff happens like years later when you're like, well, we wish we had a guy like Lavonte. Remember 5 years ago when he was here? Like, Casey, we talked about this. Like, they talked about having people in the organization and drafting guys like Lavonte David when he was still on the team. And too many times in life, I feel like we wait too long to give people their flowers. I think this was one of the coolest things in all of sports. Forget about Tampa, that the Buccaneers recognized the greatness of Lavonte David, the human being, while he still played for them.
I think it speaks highly of our personnel department that they have that kind of an eye for it as well, that like they're quick to recognize if they felt like they over or under emphasize certain things, or, what we need to be looking for now. And, that I remember, I love a quote that says something like, don't keep making a mistake just because of how long you've been making it. Like, don't just keep being invested in the wrong thing. It's about recognizing right now, what do I need to be doing? What do I need to be focusing on? And again, to have the eye for talent in that moment and not need 20 years to go by to recognize how good something was, to be able to identify in that moment, like, no, this guy is it. We have seen several years now consistency, because also there are guys that come in the league and change, and Lavonte proved that he had that consistency in character, in performance, in effort. And they were able to recognize that and say, this is what we have and what we want to continue to have. Like, while we have him here, let's find more of him, which unfortunately they don't grow on trees, but let's find as many of them as possible and have him here to mentor them. Because that's the other thing too, is like, you want to take advantage of every second you have with a guy like Lavonte to impact your next generations of players.
Yeah, and we've been very fortunate over the years. You see Leroy Selman, you see Derek Brooks, and now you see Lavonte David. Like, it's some great men within the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization. And you're right. It was a really good job by the Buccaneers to be able to recognize what type of person he was. And Jason Light speaks about that a lot, right? He crosses guys off of his draft board just because he just doesn't want to deal with those headaches. And he's like, I want guys like Lavonte David. And I think another guy that you can kind of add to that is Mike Evans. I mean, a family guy, a great father, and obviously a different scenario with him going out to San Francisco. But man, just everything. And I know how involved you are with, the foundation and everything. Like, he's another guy we're going to miss, but I'm just so grateful for his time here in the Tampa Bay area. It's going to be weird. We spoke about this the other day at the Valspar. It's going to be weird for you and I because we don't know a world with the Buccaneers working in this market without those two guys.
Yeah, I officially feel old now that there's nobody still left that was here when I started, and I'm also older than everyone on the team now, and I'm like, oh, this is devastating. But yeah, no, I mean, Mike was incredible, and I think especially for his position,
Right.
he meant so much to show the way to do it, of it not being about ego and catches and all of the, I mean, wide receivers have a reputation, right? And I just love that this whole group of wide receivers that we've had while I've been here doesn't fit into that mold. And I think that Mike is a huge reason why, because it's like, if you're getting drafted as a wide receiver now and Mike isn't having an ego about it, who are you to get to have an ego, right? Like
exactly.
if one of the greatest of all time doesn't. So I think that he impacted the team, not just again on the field, but in setting an example of this is how to carry yourself. This is how to make it about the team first and not yourself. And I think that is something that hopefully, again, will get carried through, because thankfully you have another one just like him in Chris Godwin. And so you have these guys to continue passing on. And I can tell Emeka is going to be the exact same way, that it is about team success more than individual success. And that position in particular, I think that's really impactful.
I wanted to get your opinion on this because you'll know as well as anybody. When people were comparing him, and I say him, Emeka to Chris Godwin, I was stressing to people, the Buccaneers would not themselves compare him to Chris Godwin if it was just on the field, because Chris Godwin is one of those guys where I remember Jason Light going, yeah, before we even like really like signed a contract to him, he was already like looking for an apartment. Like he was so wise beyond his years and he was so mature. And, obviously he's been with his wife for forever, it seems like. But I said that they in the Buccaneers organization don't make a comparison to Chris Godwin lightly. So for them to compare Emeka Egbuka to Chris Godwin, that means they hold him as very high regard, not just as a player, but as a human being. Do you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that. And I remember hearing that before we drafted him. And I was also skeptical of like,
yeah, you're like, wait, what?
Like, and I mean, I was excited because I'm like, if there's even a hint of this, I'm like, heck yeah, give me another Chris Godwin on this team. Give me a team of all Chris Godwins. Like, that's incredible. Right. But I mean, I'll admit I was kind of skeptical of like, we'll see if he lives up to that. And man, I agree. First time I met him, I was like, oh, he is built different. Like he knows who he is, what he wants. So respectful, so mature, so smart on and off the field, takes his faith so seriously, just an incredible person. Again, where I'm like, I completely understood why they took him when, again, at the time, if you were to list out the needs, very few people were putting that at the top, although it ended up being a position of need. We couldn't have known mid-season with all the injuries and then now with Mike being gone. But I remember thinking like, this kid must be something special to say, even though this isn't necessarily our biggest need, like we can't pass up on this. And I think that he has shown on and off the field why that was the right move.
Yeah, no doubt about it. One of the things that I love and I try to, I got to do it on National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. So like ever since I worked at WDAE, I always do something for International Women's Day. And I always want to have you on, but then you guys always have your women in red stuff. So I'm like, I get so frustrated. And this year I even wrote it down. I was like, this year, I think I had 5 or 6 different women on from 6 different cities in North America. I've been doing this for years because I think the women need an advocate that's not other women, not just other women. It needs men too. And I know, I always think about it like this. I have 2 sisters. I was raised by women. I have 4 nieces. There's a chance in my sports crazed family that one of them is probably going to work in sports. So when I talk to Casey Phillips or Julie Stewart-Binks or any of these other women here that work, like my niece Sydney might do that one day. So I always in the back of my mind think about that. Tell me how great it is to be able to work with the Buccaneers, that in an organization that they put such a precedence on making sure that the women feel so involved when it comes to the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so proud. Like, it's just so cool to know that I work for an organization that prioritizes that, and not just with words, but in action and backs it up. And I'm so proud and I feel so supported, as one of those women in it. And, it's really cool because there's a photo of me from this year's She Is Football event where I'm welcoming 1,000 women that were at the Career Summit in the stadium. And it was so surreal for me getting up to that podium, and literally it's just a sea of women in this NFL stadium. And I remembered early on in my career, there were just so many days and situations where I was the only woman anywhere, that when I was traveling in the NBA, I'm the only woman on the team playing. And when I'm, it's just, it was, and it was like so many of the questions were, what's it like to be a woman in sports? That it was like, that was what was sort of the identity you got. And instead of just being a reporter, like you're a female reporter. Now it was just so incredible to see that I went from being one of the only in a room or a situation to speaking to a sea of women at this event. It was just incredible and moving and gave me such hope for the future, that now I just don't feel like that's even the story anymore, is that a reporter is doing it as a woman. It's just, she's either a good reporter or a bad reporter, just like a man is either a good reporter or a bad reporter. Like it's not even like about that anymore. There's so few questions about it anymore of, does she know her stuff? Can she cover the, like, I just feel like that's mostly a thing of the past now, which is really incredible. And I really think that people like, Mrs. Darcy Glazer Castlewitz and all the rest of the Glazer family and the Buccaneers are a huge part of that, of promoting these spaces for women to be in, whether it's the girls' flag, whether it's the scholarship for some of these girls that are wanting to go play in college, and just so many other ways that they're trying to create future female leaders, future female athletes, future female executives. It's really incredible. And I mean, when you're an NFL team, you can use your platform for a lot of things. And I love that this is one of the things they've chosen.
Yeah, and the ultimate badass, as I like to call her, Sarah Walsh, who's never stopping. Like, she's a maniac. I love her so much. Before I let you go, what's the next couple months looking like for you when it comes to your duties with the Buccaneers, and what's exciting you the most about going into this 2026 season, because it's kind of a new era of Buccaneer football?
Yeah, I actually always say that kind of this like April, May, June is sometimes my actually favorite part of my job and part of the year, which I know sounds weird. It's like, but there's no football happening. But for me, when I do focus a lot on the off the field and who the guys are, I get so excited to meet a whole new group of rookies and free agents and like all of these people, and get to know what excites them, their stories, what their personalities, and just get excited about like, ooh, I can't wait to have him on my show this fall, or, oh, I can't wait to have this guy. Like, I met Alex Anzalone and I already told him day one, I was like, oh, put that on your calendar. You're going to be a great guest. So for me, it's really fun, and all the rookies get to do a lot of the cool stuff that, our player personnel department will put on, of taking them to all these different events and things to help them on and off the field, get to know each other, bond. And I go to a lot of those to get to learn guys. So whether it's they're going to the police academy for training and meeting some of those guys, they'll have etiquette training, they'll have financial training, they'll do all sorts of different things. And for me, that's just so fun and unique, getting to watch them transition into this professional world.
Yeah, again, going back to like Tez Johnson at the outdoor hockey game, like he had such a good time.
I just think that Tez needs to be on everything all the time. He needs to be like a permanent host of everything all the time.
I mean, I remember the first press conference we had with him, and I'm like, this guy's gonna take all of our jobs. Like, he's
I've said that many times. I'm like, I'm going to get replaced with Tez Johnson. That's what's going to happen here. He's so funny. And it's so funny though, that to remember how young he is and how many of these guys are. That was one of my favorite moments of any Mike Evans gala. I did this last year. It was a panel that I did with Mike and Chris and Tez. A lot of the questions were kind of this old guard, new guard, old guy, the unk in the room, the younger guys, and what that looked like. And I asked Mike and Chris, like, when do you feel old? What are the things that people like Tez or these other young players do that make you feel old? And they're like, oh, the music, their taste in music. And, they're like, this young music is terrible, all this stuff. And then Tez speaks up and says, oh, but I'm an old head. So, I listen to things like Lil Wayne. And we were all just like, old head means Lil Wayne. We were losing it. And you could tell Tez was so proud of himself, thinking like, oh, but and then basically we were like, yep, we're going to die up here on this stage with that being what makes you an old head.
Yeah. 2000s music. That's what makes you an old head, Tez.
Yep.
We love them. And we love you. Buccaneers team reporter Casey Phillips, you are the best. Thank you so much for the time. It's always an incredible chat with you. So enjoy your favorite months of the season. And I'm sure it'll be, before you know it, we'll be back talking Buccaneer football again. Thank you so much.
For
Great
sure.
seeing you at the Valspar. Give you said better half. I'm not saying it. Give him our love, and we'll talk soon. Have a great rest of your week.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you. The one and only Casey Phillips. She does such an incredible job. And what a storyteller. What a storyteller. She just does such an incredible job. We're so blessed. Hold on one second, guys. Ren, sorry, but I didn't get to this. But you're right, Ren, our guy. I've been watching her work for years. Never heard her flub a word, not one. She's such a consummate professional, and I love the stories that she tells and the relationships that she's built with the players. It's just absolutely remarkable. What else is remarkable is my friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. My guy Hammer is the best. Got my hard hat here. I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they were getting work done on their home, and the contractor, and it wasn't in Tampa, or else I would have sent them to Honest Hammer, but it was somebody out of town, and they were speaking about some of the renovations that they had in their home office, and they were just mortified. And they said, man, I wish there was an Honest Hammer up here. And I go, yeah, I know, because they do an incredible job. And you could just go to the website, thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Russ, aka Hammer, is just one of a kind, and he is that guy that you can trust when you're getting somebody working on your home. I can't say enough nice things about him. Licensed general contractor, CGC 153-1166. Tell him that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast and get you a discount. Also, EverHealth, the EverHealth injury report tomorrow at 12:30 with our guy, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. We'll discuss a little bit of everything on the program. But EverHealth, I was, again, speaking to somebody about that this morning. I'm always showing love to my partners. But with 17 different locations in Pinellas County, the new wave of healthcare, I'm thoroughly impressed by the attentiveness, the cleanliness, the professionalism. There's just so many different there's just so many different things that I really truly enjoy talking about EverHealth and the EverHealth Institute, which was, very similar to the broadcasting school that I went to. And, it's the new wave. It really is, with that sliding scale for the uninsured, the ability for them to take any type of insurance. And I know sometimes people look at that and like, oh, how nice can that place really be? But it's pristine and it's beautiful. And the people that work there, I mean, you love Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Trust me, EverHealth is where it's at. EverHealth.org. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Benny, you know it. CSB legend, the only student to ever transfer. You got that right, pal. You know it all. Jeremy's in the house. What's up, buddy? How about that big Bolts win last night? You're right. We'll talk Lightning with Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com here momentarily. Ren, my bathroom is being redone right now. They demoed yesterday. No show today. Super fun. Well, if it doesn't work out, buddy, the Honest Hammer, go check them out and tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, and he'll hook you up. That is for sure. Follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Make sure, guys, kill that like button, whether you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, or Twitter/X. Give them a shout. Hit that like button. You rent. All right, Ren. Well, let your people know that they can help you out in the future as well. Tomorrow on the program, we will be joined by Ed Encina, by Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, and by Brian Schaefer, center back for our Tampa Bay Rowdies, a USF grad. He's been phenomenal for our Rowdies. They are now 2-0. They play again Saturday night. I wasn't going to go, but the Lightning play at 1 o'clock on Saturday, so I'm probably going to go to the Rowdies game after that. You know me. If I can make it to both games, I will go. So I'll probably go to that Rowdies game. It's going to be a busy weekend here in the Tampa Bay area. And of course, let's not forget the Rays start tomorrow. Baseball season is back. This is some of the best times of the year. Basketball, hockey, baseball, March Madness. You just cannot beat it. And you also cannot beat our lightning talk with the one and only, the Icelandic warrior, Eric Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C. Two S's after the D. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Another beautiful day. Wednesdays are busy, but it's good to be busy. That's for sure. It's good to be the Tampa Bay Lightning right now after you win a game like you did last night. And somebody asked me about the game, and I said to myself, they scored 6 goals last. You know what I mean? Like, as much as they were down 3-1, like at the end of the day, against a team like Minnesota, who I really enjoy watching, and they've got some good defenders. They've had good goaltending all year long. They scored 6 goals against them last night, and I don't even know if they didn't play a full 60 minutes. That's for sure. What does that win tell you about this Tampa Bay Lightning team?
They got a lot of heart. They got a lot of guts. Look, I was very impressed as that game went on with how they played, because, I mean, John Cooper even said it beforehand, right? Like, that was a tough game.
Yeah.
Like, we can talk about back-to-backs, and those are tough. They have their own challenges, but to fly all day on Monday, you don't get in until 4:30. You got to play a game 27 hours later. Like, that's tough, man. Like, even the staff members that were on that trip were like, man, I'm tired. And they didn't play hockey.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, I know fans don't want to hear excuses, but those are realities in the NHL and a condensed schedule. Sometimes you run into what we might call a scheduled loss. Right. And last night might have been more of a scheduled loss than Sunday in Calgary.
Right.
But after playing not well for about 7-8 minutes or so, the way that they picked up their intensity, their compete level, the Corey Perry fight right after Minnesota took the goal. I mean, that's an energy. One of the things that Julian said when they reacquire Corey Perry is he knows when to turn the temperature up in a game, recognized it, and did what he did against a guy who's much bigger than Corey Perry. Gave up 3 inches and 20+ pounds to Michael McCarron. But I think it kind of got their attention a little bit. The Sabra and Foligno fight at the end of the first period, I think helped inject it too. And then for them to just find their game, start to impose their will a little bit on a pretty darn good Minnesota team for a good portion of the second half of that game. I very impressed in how they got themselves back into that game and finding the energy level. I don't know how they found it.
Yeah, I mean, and give Mike McCarron credit. I think that was a good pickup for Minnesota. He played a pretty good game last night. That's for sure. He got the goal that was disallowed, and a little surprised that they didn't give a penalty to Bobby Brink there. But you know what? When you cross-check a guy that's 6'8", right? I think that's what a weird little comment last night saying Darren Radish is 6'8", but it is what it is. I digress. What do we think the deal is with Victor Hedman? It's, you guys were there. I totally forgot that Coop was speaking at 6 o'clock. I say you guys walked upstairs, and I was like, I totally forgot that he was talking, and I was there all day. I know you kind of followed up on the question about, like, what's the deal? Is he sick? Is he, what do you get? What do you feel when it comes to Victor Hedman? Because he hasn't played great this year. He had the groin injury, where he missed Sweden's game against the U.S. in the quarterfinals, and
we assume it was a groin.
We assume it's a groin, yeah. But he just hasn't looked the same. And they're in a tough spot because they see how well the team's playing when he's not in there, but they know what he does bring to the table when he's 100%, but he's not 100%. So this is why Julian and Coop get paid the big bucks. But what's your just take on the Victor Hedman situation?
It's a weird one. It's hard to get a really good read on.
Right.
Because, obviously he left the game against Vancouver after the second period. We heard the audio post game where he said he wasn't feeling well. And the follow-up question, is it more illness than injury? And Coop said yes. But I've never seen anybody miss 3 games due to illness, unless it's like really bad.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's not the case here, but it just feels weird. And then
it would be, it'd be different.
It like having been around for forever, it feels like at times.
I thought I didn't know if you were going to go with this exact number right there, buddy.
Sometimes we ask questions, not necessarily to get an answer, you're probably not going to get, but how it's answered. Mm-hmm. And when I asked the follow-up yesterday, I said, what's he dealing with? It was, he's not playing tonight, and then we'll see. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's like, they're being very coy about it. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's injured. Mm-hmm. Right. Because he's just not himself. He's just not. And his skating, like, guys who skate like Victor Hedman, their skating does not drop off that drastically this quickly. So that tells me, again, trying to read between the lines without anybody willing to offer up any sort of information one way or the other, that I just feel, having been around a long time, that it's not just an illness. And if it is, then maybe it's something like mono or something that just kind of stays with you for a long period of time, which it absolutely could be, right? It absolutely could be that. But I don't know, man. It's a weird one. We'll see what comes tomorrow when they get back on the ice for morning skate, whether he's there. I mean, he hasn't even been seen around the building yet. That's the funny thing. And not funny in a ha-ha kind of way.
Yeah, no, yeah. Darren Radish scores 20th goal last night. I feel like we're like leaning in two directions. Like, one, it's like part of the conversation is, well, how the hell do you keep him? The other part of the conversation is, you ain't going to be able to pay that man, right? It's just like, it's either side of the coin. So let's enjoy it. And I thought it was interesting when Ed asked him the question last night, like, would you have been surprised? And he said, I would have believed you. Because I think inherently you have to have that belief, right? You have to have some semblance of, like, I wouldn't say ego, but just, you have to have that pride. And I think he always knew that he could be this good of, I think that he always thought he could be a really good player and a contributor, but I don't even know if he would really predict that he could score 20 in a season.
No
way.
Like it's such a big jump, right? Mm-hmm. Now, part of that is role, right? Because of the injuries, his role has changed, since November. I mean, let's also not forget, he was a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
More than once at the beginning of the season.
This season.
Yeah.
This season, not last season. This season.
Like, the biggest sort of indicator of the way that the year has gone for Darren is, when they were in Colorado in November, he was a healthy scratch. When the Avalanche were here in January, he was the shutdown D pair against McKinnon's line. Mm-hmm. Right? That kind of tells you how far he's come this season. But nobody could have predicted Darren Radish was going to be a 20-goal scorer. Now, he has worked hard to get there because he's always had this sort of offensive talent. That's what made him such a valuable member of that Erie Otters team. Mm-hmm. Back when, McDavid and those guys were kind of running the roost in Erie in junior. And, he was putting up some of the numbers in the AHL, but he had holes in his game, which prevented him from getting to the next level. He worked on those to get him here. And then the biggest thing, especially when we're talking about goals, is his shot, which he has worked on, the accuracy of the shot. That's the big thing. And that's a big reason why, he's found the back of the net 20 times this year, is because he's worked on getting those pucks through. The hard shot's always been there, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't get it through. Mm-hmm. I remember way back when, showing my age here again, when the Lightning acquired Andre Mazzaros from Ottawa. Mazzaros was a partner with Zdeno Chara in Ottawa, and he had a hard, heavy shot. But he hit the back of the glass more than he came anywhere close to the net. Yeah. Right. So it's great to have a 95+ mile an hour slap shot. But if it's slamming off the glass 90% of the time, it's not useful.
Yeah, it's
and not that Radish was throwing pucks off the back of the glass, but he's worked on finding those areas. And when you shoot the puck 100 miles an hour and you have accuracy on it, you're going to beat some goaltenders, and that's what he's done this year. So it will be interesting to see how this is handled once we get to the postseason. Because look, if you're Darren Radish, you're not going to probably get this sort of opportunity again to land this kind of a contract. And the flip side of that is, well, I'm not going to have Nikita Kucherov feeding me pucks on another team. Right. So there's a balance there too, and what players are looking for. But yeah, are the Lightning going to be able to afford to pay Darren Radish $7+ million a year? I don't think so. But that's probably where that contract's going.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of players that will probably not be here next year, Oliver Bjorkstrand being scratched last night, a healthy scratch in a game where you're playing Minnesota. And I know they have Mike McCarron. They wanted Sabrin in there. But, man, it's just like we've talked about Oliver a lot, and it just hasn't worked out. Surprise! Like, are they going to bring somebody else up, you think, for the playoffs? Because they're just going to rock with him and just have him and Sabrin go in and out, you think?
I don't think Sabrin sees the ice much in the playoffs, to be honest with you. That was a game
because McCarron was in there, kind of thing.
That was a big part of it, right? Because and not just McCarron, you had Foligno too, right? Yeah. Nick Foligno's a tough guy and a tough customer. So Minnesota has that part of it. So I think Tampa Bay just wanted to match that a little bit, and as it turned out, you felt you kind of needed it. And I think too, John Cooper recognized, because he talked about it before the game, about the challenges that last night was going to present.
Right.
And, you heard him talk. You heard Jay Gensel talk about it after the game. Those two fights pulled the team into the fight.
Yeah.
Right. So I think Coop recognized that as well, knowing that Sabrin's role in a game like that could end up being more valuable than Bjorkstrand. At the end of the day, it's a fourth line role. Right. Mm-hmm. Now, Bjorkstrand plays on top power play as a right-hand shot. But so I think Coop recognized that a little bit too. And certainly Bjorkstrand has not lived up to anybody's expectations, including his own, since being here. But we also know, man, you get to the playoffs, it's a clean slate.
Yeah.
And Oliver Bjorkstrand has shown in his career on the teams that he's been on that have made the playoffs, he scores some clutch goals.
Yeah.
So that ability is there with him. We haven't seen it, even though he's got 9 power play goals this year. Mm-hmm. So we haven't seen it on a consistent basis. We certainly haven't seen it during 5-on-5 play. But guys like him, I'm telling you, man, sometimes they can end up being a playoff hero.
March 25th, 2006, 1:13 p.m., Erik Erlendsson and Jay Recher predict that Oliver Bjorkstrand will score 1 game-winning goal in the first round of the NHL playoffs for the Lightning. I think we can rock with that. I don't think that's one
we
game
got the
winner.
tape to market.
There you go. Look, that's right.
Well, and an important clutch goal.
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna. Important clutch. I'm gonna go game winner, baby. That's how we roll here. All right. So Sunday, we know, circle the wagon, circle the calendars. It'll be the second time that Steven Stamkos returns to the arena as a visitor. It's still gonna be weird. It's still gonna be strange to be able to see him. And they're playing pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you? And we were kind of talking about this last night. Deandra asked the question during the press conference about kind of getting it's not getting the band back together. And I didn't necessarily think that's where she was getting at, but I feel like Julian was kind of saying it in a vein of like, well, we're not going to bring Stamkos back. Like, do you think it's like personal? Like, I know personal is probably too strong of a word, but just, do you think Julian's kind of fed up hearing about Steven Stamkos?
Depends the context.
Yeah.
Right, because he obviously knows what Stammer meant to this franchise, and what he did for this franchise and everything else. I just think Julian made a business decision, and he's not going to backtrack on it.
Even though he's done it with McDonough and Gordon and Corey Perry.
Yeah, but those guys, weren't making $8.5, $9, $10 million a year. Right.
That's
Like,
true.
again, you look at the contract that Stammer signed in Nashville, it wasn't going to happen here.
Yeah,
Right.
no doubt about it.
And whether you want to say that, the Lightning actually negotiated in fair faith, right, with their franchise icon, I mean, that's a debate that you can have. Because it's, if the offers are true, it was an 8-year, $32 million, I think was what the number was looking at.
Yeah, same number just flipped.
Yeah. So is that like he wasn't going to take that offer, and the Lightning weren't going to match what Nashville had. Right. So, I mean, you can talk about whether that's fair, negotiation or not. But he probably doesn't want to keep asking questions. Are you bringing Stammer back? Are you bringing Stammer back? Because it's just not going to happen. Not now, and not at this point, right? Because just because of the contract situation.
Yeah, and then you think about it too, like, oh yeah, it'd be nice to have a right-handed guy that can win faceoffs and help in the power play, but it's just it's weird. Like I don't know, it's just a weird situation, and I don't know why it seems more personal with Julian. I don't know what it is, and I don't know, because like we heard from Pierre LeBrun that Stammer's open to coming back, right? So I mean,
yeah, of course he is. Of course he is.
But for Julian has to be, and I said this a couple weeks ago, like that's the one thing that has to happen. Julian has to go, all right, we're going to make this happen. Nashville would obviously have to retain salary. It'd have to be done before the trade deadline. Lightning would have to be okay to move with other guys, but that the biggest part of the whole thing is that Julian has to say, not that he made a mistake, but he's going to be able to bring him back like he did with some of these other guys. And it just doesn't seem like he wants any part of that.
Well, look, when you look at this from a sentimental standpoint,
right,
everything you said makes sense.
Yeah.
When you look at it from a GM standpoint, it's a much different perspective because he took the money that Stammer made in Nashville and he turned it into Jake Gensel.
Right.
Gensel was a 40-goal scorer last year. He's a 30-goal scorer this year. We'll see what happens in the final, stretch here of the season if he can hit that 40-goal mark again. So in terms of production, it hasn't missed a beat. Right. And look, Stammer's scoring in Nashville. I'm so happy for him. That team is on a roll right now. We'll see what they look like when they come in here this weekend. But, so that's why it's hard if you're a GM. Like sometimes you have to take emotion out of it. Like I remember hearing this from Jay Feaster way back in the day that, sometimes loyalty to a player that has helped you do stuff can sometimes be what does you in.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why you have to take emotion and look at it from a pure team standpoint, business standpoint, everything. You have to take your personal relationships out of it sometimes. And that's not easy to do, especially with a guy like Stammer, because he meant so much and he's such a great human being and he's got such a great family. And, there's so much to love about Steven Stamkos, the player and the person and everything else, and Julian just kind of took that step back and looked at things from a business perspective and made a business decision that he knew was not going to be popular with 95% of anybody involved with this franchise, whether it's people in the building, whether it's fans, season ticket holders, whatever it is. He knew that he was going to be pointed at as the bad guy in this situation.
Right. Well, hopefully it works out for them going forward, because you'd have to ask questions if they lose in the first round again, right? I mean, like, that's the thing, is like, we all think like, all right, now, no Florida, doesn't look like they'll play Toronto, regardless. We know how good the Atlantic is and how teams are winning, but they didn't think they were that far off, and they didn't kind of overreact. And they're thinking, all right, well, just a little tweaks here, get a little tougher. But if they get bounced in the first round again, there's I won't say the whispers get a little louder, but now you start counting. Now you start counting how many years they lose in the first round, and you wonder, like, what is the missing recipe, missing aspect, or missing ingredient to the recipe of winning? I was thinking about this last night. Jake Gensel, 300 goals last night. He's probably going to hit 500 as a member of the Lightning. Hall of Famer?
Ooh, good question.
He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer at that time, right? You would think, because it's a long contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
So figure he's going to score in the next 6 years. You would think another 200 goals, right? At this rate, right? And if he does that, he's going to be a multi-time Stanley Cup champion, a gold medal. You know what I mean? Like, you start thinking about it, and I think he needs to show that he can do that, but he's a smart hockey player, good 200-foot guy. I just feel like we talk about all these different guys, and then if that happens, what does his legacy turn into? Because I think, like, we still have Jake Guentzel, and I don't know if you feel this way, but I still feel like Jake Guentzel's like, he's a really good player, but he's still kind of like a Pens guy, right? He's still like a Crosby, Malkin, Guentzel, Letang guy, but like, he's going to be here for a while. And if he continues to put up 35 to 40 goals every year, and let's say they do win a cup in the next 4 or 5 years, like, it's going to change what Jake Guentzel's legacy is going to be. He's going to be a gold medal winner. He's going to be a multi-time cup winner. And I wonder if is Jake Guentzel, when all is said and done, is he going to be remembered more as a Penguin or as a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning? I've never thought about that until last night. And then I was like, I'm not going to continue to think about this. I'm just going to wait to ask Eric tomorrow, because I think it's a very, very layered question.
Well, the fact that his chapter with the Lightning is still being written, it's kind of hard to determine what he will be thought more of, right? Obviously had a lot of success with great players in Pittsburgh. He's showing he's having great success here with great players in Tampa Bay. But if he gets to 500 goals, that's kind of the magic number, right? I mean, sometimes it takes guys a little longer. I mean, look how long it took for Dino Ciccarelli to get into the Hall of Fame as a 500 goal scorer. I think, and I might be wrong on this, I think Pat Verbeek might be the only guy who scored 500 goals in their career who's not in the Hall of Fame. I could be wrong. I'm kind of going off my limited brain capacity with my memory. So the 500 is a magic number. That's kind of it, and it might take, depending on, because there's a lot of players in this league right now we know are in the Hall of Fame, right? Kucherov, Hall of Fame. Victor Hedman, Hall of Fame. Connor McDavid, Hall of Fame. Leon Draisaitl, Hall of Fame. So it's all going to depend on kind of when they hang up their careers, right? When their careers are over. So, sometimes it takes a little bit because of the limitations in terms of the number of players that get, voted in or, selected on a yearly basis by the committee. But I think if he gets to 500 goals, I think he's definitely in that conversation. But whether that means he will be remembered more with a Penguins uniform on or a Lightning uniform, I think that book is still being written.
How many freaking Hall of Famers do you think there are right now
in the league,
like, that are still playing? Like, they would stop right now. Pasternak,
questionable.
Yeah. Red Wings have Patrick Kane,
Hall of Famer, no doubt.
Barkov,
the path he's going, yes.
Nope, if he retires right now. Claude Giroux, is he a Hall of Famer?
No. Come on.
Claude Giroux, you know me. Austin Matthews? Yeah. Hall of Famer.
Right now?
MVP, 50 goal. Gold medal winning. That counts, right?
It factors.
Yeah. Matthews is tough.
See, it's tough because you have to encapsulate a full career.
Right? I know.
So we know. I mean, is Austin Matthews even 30 yet?
That's what
I don't
I'm
think
saying.
He's 30 years old yet. So it's hard. Again, that's why, like with Barkov, he's going to continue to put up better numbers, and he's going to build that resume. He's the captain of a 2-time Cup-winning team. Right. He's one of the best defensive forwards.
But that's why
I ever play the game.
That's why I think he would get it.
Yeah. So
right now. But you're talking about guys right now, like Kane's in that position. Yeah. Kucherov, Stammer, Hedman, Kale McCarr, Nathan McKinnon, Draisaitl, McDavid. We said Vasilevsky, Crosby, Ovechkin, Malkin. There's Bobrovsky, definitely. 2-time Vezina winner, 2-time Cup winner, no doubt about it in my mind. Isn't it crazy? Like, we used to make fun of Russian goaltenders, and now you have literally 4 amazing goaltenders.
Yeah,
and when people always, Yeah, and it's funny because everybody's like, "Oh yeah, it's going to be Sorokin and Shesterkin and Vasilevsky." I'm like, "You're going to keep Bob out?" I know he's had a crappy year, but it's like if one game and you're telling me I'm putting Bobrovsky in there, I wouldn't say no, unless it's Vasilevsky. But Braden Point, Hall of Famer right now? No,
Right now,
not.
no.
Right now, but he's on his way. He's another guy, right?
He's putting up numbers, yeah.
Think about how many guys will be 500 goal scorers for the Lightning, including Darren Radish. All right, what do we have up on lightninginsider.com, buddy?
Oh man, all the stuff on the West Coast. All those games, all those late nights and early mornings spent. I'm so glad that they're done with the West Coast. So all that stuff is up there. Talking about jet lag and everything. Like I didn't travel.
Yeah.
I didn't play. Dude, when I got home last night, like I just could not stay awake. I just I haven't even finished my recap and thoughts from last night's game. So I'm finishing that up and I'll have that posted here very shortly. But like there was a lot to unpack from last night's game, right? The slow start, the fights, the 5-on-3 penalty kill, falling behind by 2 after killing off the 5-on-3, the Chernak situation where it wasn't a goal, but it was a goal. Like there was a lot to unpack. So I'm still trying to unpack that in my frazzled mind. I'm just happy to kind of get back on normal time now, even for all the late nights that I usually spend. Last night was a tough one and I couldn't fight my way through it. So I gave in and went to bed at 8, again, an ungodly hour, but so that'll be up here shortly on the website.
Use that promo code JNZ over on lightninginsider.com. Remember to follow him on Twitter /X, Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Eric, appreciate it, man. Go finish doing what you got to do, get a nap in, and hey, let's just do it again tomorrow. How about that?
See you tomorrow, buddy.
See you, pal. Thanks, man. Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Go check him out, buddy. Go read best Lightning coverage in the area. We always talk about support local, lightninginsider.com. Baseball tonight, Netflix, Giants, Yankees. Old school rivalry from back in the early days in the 40s. I remember a lot of my family members were Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Giants fans. My mom's side of the family, my dad's were always Yankees. And we always talk about the Dodgers going from Brooklyn to LA, but let's not forget the Giants going from New York to San Francisco was a big deal as well. But yeah, good for baseball to be back. It does seem weird to Netflix the first game of the season. I'm not one of those people that really like lives and dies by it because I have all the streaming services. So it's just kind of, it is what it is for me. And I get it, like, the rights and things like that. But in order to grow certain games that need growth, like you need to make it as accessible as humanly possible. Pretty much everybody has Netflix though, right? I don't know. I'm kind of lost at that type of thing. I always think about it like, all right, if it's on channel 2 or 4 or 5 or 7 or 10 or 11, like, all right, then people are going to be able to watch it, even if you have the most basic cable package. But nowadays, it seems like everybody has Netflix anyway. So to act like it's going to be so difficult for people to watch it. I mean, how many people do you know that do not have Netflix? Right? Think about that. It's pretty wild. All right, guys, it's going to wrap it up for me. A big thank you. Marissa doesn't have Netflix. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I got it for you. Your fine ass. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders and EverHealth. Our guy Steve with a $5 super chat. So the Bucs start real slow, maybe 2-5. Do they deal Baker, and what's the package to get him? I don't think they ever deal Baker Mayfield, but yeah, I mean, they sure as hell ain't going to give him that extension. That's for sure. I thought that was a very good topic of conversation with our guy, Ira Kaufman. That'll be up on our page a little bit later on. Beckles and Recher coming up at about 3 o'clock today. So make sure you tune in. We will be live from the Dignitary Cafe talking about Lavonte David retiring and a bunch of other topics as well. Make sure you showed love to Honest Hammer and EverHealth. A big thank you to Erik Erlendsson, Ira Kaufman, and Casey Phillips for joining us on the program today. Back in action tomorrow at Benchmark International Arena. It don't stop. 7 freaking games. They play tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday and Tuesday and Thursday. And you bet your ass that I will be there. I might take like a 5-minute nap, but I don't really take naps. So what are we going to do? I'm tired as hell. I know. I'm sorry for yawning. Now everybody else is going to yawn. Go ahead. Everybody yawn at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. I love you all. Everybody be well. We'll see you tomorrow from the arena at noon right here on the J Recher Podcast. I am gone.